So, Your Holiness, I'd like to introduce to you and to the rest of the participants the two panelists who will be in discussion with us this morning. First of all, Lady Allan, Maureen Allan, who has been a meditator for 30 years and has been of great assistance as our liaison with the Office of Tibet and Mrs. Tackler in the organization of this seminar. And also Peter Ng from Singapore, who is the Chief Investment Officer of the Singapore Investment Corporation, and who is also, at a more spiritual level, the director, one of the directors with his wife Patricia, of the Christian Meditation Center in Singapore. I'd like to ask Peter first to raise the first point for discussion.
Your Holiness, the question I want to put to you is a rather basic one, and this concerns the goal and the way of the spiritual life from the Buddhist perspective, as well as how you see single-pointedness meditation as helping in spiritual development. From the Christian perspective, of course, the goal of our spiritual life, our destiny, as Father Laurence mentioned, is to share in the being of God. And for us, of course, the way for us is Jesus. And the supreme commandment, the supreme value by which we follow Jesus is the way of love. And in fact, for us as Christian meditators, we understand meditation as a way of love. This is the way that Father John Main taught us about meditation. It is the way in which we come into a personal relationship with Jesus. It is the way in which we expand our love so that we come into the fullness of love, which is God. So I like to understand from the Buddhist perspective, what would you say as the goal of the spiritual life? What is the equivalent in Buddhist teaching of love as the way? And how do you see meditation as helping in that spiritual life?
When explaining the Buddhist perspective on the goal of spiritual life, and also the way and the means of attaining it, perhaps it may be useful to speak about what are known as the four factors of goodness, within the scheme of which there are two goals that the individual aspires. One is the material sort of worldly well-being on the sort of mundane level, and one is the attainment of spiritual perfection or liberation, nirvana. And as a means towards these two different goals, the means for attaining mundane well-being is explained as the material facilities, and the means for attaining spiritual liberation and perfection is the practice of dharma. Mm-hmm. And I feel that in the example of your life, they seems to converge because you are a banker and Now, when Buddhists speak of dharma, the Tibetan equivalent is che, which means transformation or transforming power. Although compassion is seen as the fundamental principle there, but we would always speak about compassion in union or inseparable from wisdom or intelligence. So it is the union of intelligence and compassion that is the way, or that's the dharma.
다한테 가사주디 시럽스대야 델레 야 낭시기 내가지고 구조도 시럽다 내루로 정도도 시럽스니.
Again, when we speak about one of the two factors, compassion and wisdom, or compassion and intelligence, here, or knowledge, because the term prajna, sharab, embraces all of these English sort of meanings: intelligence, wisdom, knowledge. We are talking about, again, different types of knowledge and wisdom. Generally speaking, the knowledge of, conventional knowledge of the everyday world of experience, and the ultimate knowledge of the ultimate truth.
In
the Buddhist context, when we speak about ultimate truth, we are here referring to the ultimate nature of reality, which is described as anatma, selfless or identityless. So, in short, when we speak of the ultimate nature of reality, we are actually speaking about the doctrine of shunyata, emptiness. With regard to the role of single-pointed meditation in samadhi, or single-pointed meditation, and its relation to the path, the way, which is the union of compassion and wisdom. Generally speaking, as for the actual nature of the single-pointedness and the various techniques that are taught in developing it, in cultivating the single-pointedness concern, there is nothing unique about it being Buddhist. It is something that is common to all major traditions in India, Buddhist, non-Buddhist, and so on. But what is so unique about the application of this single-pointed, the faculty of the single-pointedness, is that it enables, it assists the spiritual practitioner in allowing him or her to
samadhi is loved at the Jimin Shendra, that's the two something. The Tijiban Turkish sometimes Toto Yungurba, things which Yungurba. That dear the same nature that this you ask him to
one thing which we need to be clear about here is that single-pointedness of the mind is a very general term, generic term that is being used, whereas samadhi refers to a heightened state of mind, that single-pointedness. Of course, in our daily life, we all experience glimpses of this single-pointedness in us, occasionally here and there. But that is the potential, that is the basis on which then we can build up meditation by application of the meditative techniques, and the fully enhanced and developed stage of that is called samadhi. So through the application of the meditative techniques, cultivating and enhancing this single-pointedness within us, then it will allow the individual to develop that not only a profound stability in the mind, which frees you from normal state of distraction and sort of where all your mental energy is dissipated and dispersed. So it allows you to channel and have this single-pointed, not only a stability, but also a clarity. There's a kind of sort of a profound alertness. And when you have these two factors, then it assists you to be able to direct your mind towards the object of your meditation, be it compassion, wisdom, or whatever.
Ben Duxlum does comment. Sim you shit and could get in could share you the Kali, but Tata Matevshin protecting the Chogoche, Chogoparche.
What we find is that if we look carefully, we find that within our mind there are two principal obstacles, factors that obstruct for us in developing fully this faculty of single-pointedness that is inherent in us. These being, one is sort of a distracted state of mind that makes your mind scattered and makes your mind remain in a sort of an excited state, which prevents you from having a stability, because you're always sort of excited and sort of your mind is scattered. And this is the obstacle towards maintaining a profound stability. So these obstacles have to be overcome. Another obstacle is that even though you might have overcome this mental scattering and you may have a certain degree of stability, but sometimes when that state of mind may lack alertness. So what you have is a withdrawn state of mind, which may be free temporarily from mental scattering and mental distraction, but there is no dynamism, there is no vitality. It is kind of a rather sort of spaced out sort of mind, and this is called mental sinking. In the sort of Buddhist terminology, it is called mental sinking or jingwa, which is like sort of really being hit down, and that has to be again countered. So when you sort of overcome that obstacle, what you have is, in addition to the stability, then you have a sharp clarity. There is and a very deep sort of clarity and a vitality. And when you have these two forces joined together, then you have the required stability that would allow you to fix your mind to the object. And then you have the required alertness that would allow you to really use the full energy of your mind to penetrate into the object.
Maureen.
I think the description of a scattered mind, I'm afraid, if you sit here, your mind gets a bit scattered. But
Yes, everyone.
but
아주 배지 되는 생각이다. 아주 저번에 제가 그 돌이야 쌤들 파지 대 좋아돼 가지, 봐. 나도 검제가 그도 대 망세 지명감 두고 알아.
I feel that when we are participating in a panel discussion, perhaps most of us here, our mind are, most of us here, I mean all of us here. I feel that our mind or our state of consciousness is in the realm of scattering. And then when we are meditating, then it is in the realm of this mental sinking.
For many, that's the vast majority or all of us here, our practice of meditation day by day is the most practical means that we have to grow in compassion and in generous service of causes such as the cause of Tibet. And I think we would all be inspired and enriched if you could give us encouragement and advice on how to remain steady in the path of meditation each day. Many people find it very difficult, of course, to meditate living in cities and with the problems of modern life, and yet this is why the community of Christian meditation has grown up as a support for that. But it is a great difficulty very often for people not living in monasteries, and sometimes for people living in monasteries, to meditate. So could you give us some encouragement and some insight into what we need to develop in order to persevere and to deepen our meditation each day?
그래서 책 심주 투야를 돈하면은 다 그래. 돈하면 하면 마고 봐 탐지나.
If the person, unless it is the case that the individual has no deep interest in growing spiritually. Otherwise, so long as the individual really has a really deep interest in spiritual growth, then one cannot do away with meditation and practice. That is the key.
Mm-hmm. Just mere prayer or wish will not
Affect changes.
Effect this change. So it's a constant and a constant effort through meditation. That's the only way for further development. So of course at the beginning, naturally, not easy. You may find the difficulties and also sometimes the less enthusiasm. At the beginning, very much enthusiasm. Then 1 week, 2 weeks, few months, then that enthusiasm may go down. But we need, you see, the constant thinking about the value and the long-term value.
What are the principal means of helping us to keep going when we get discouraged?
Of course, one should constantly reflect upon and actually weighing the pros and cons of meditating and not meditating, the benefits, the value, and the effectiveness of meditation on the one hand, and the negative effects of not meditating and not pursuing one's meditation, and so on the other, and constantly weighing these two sides, and through that way one can maintain the sort of enthusiasm. We can say that out of just over 5 billion humanity on this planet, we could, broadly speaking, divide humanity into 3 categories. One who is a believer and a practitioner, and another category which is not only a non-believer but also anti-religion, and then there could be a third category, which is a group of people who need not necessarily be a religious practitioner, yet at the same time has no particular sort of antagonism towards religion, so sort of are in a state of mere indifference. All 3 of these categories are equal in having the natural instinct and desire to be happy and to overcome suffering and to avoid suffering. So a practitioner or a believer should compare, if necessary, if they need a point of contrast, it is not the third group, that is the people who are indifferent, that they should contrast themselves with. Rather, it is the second category, the people who are anti-religious, who not only do not believe but think religion is irrelevant and false and so on. So you should compare your life with those in the second category, and see whose life reflects more sense of contentment.
Self-contentment, no. I mean, in certain aspect, of course, those people who have no hesitation to do everything in order to achieve their goal. But, so therefore, in some cases, they may appears more successful. But so long run, the peace of mind, if we think, I think in that group, I think it's too much suspicion. Because each one always is cheating, or dishonest, right? No honest. And also whenever when a certain situation happen, they have no hesitation to eliminate one another, isn't it? Look at the former Soviet Union, the leaders of Soviet Union, and China. So you see, when we make comparison, of course both want to be happy person, but one adopt a method. Certain method. According to that method, they feel religion is poison. The other of course, with the desire of seeking happiness and adopt religion as a method. That those two things are connected.
So when you compare the two categories, of course here we are talking about not just someone who claims to believe and claims to practice, but religion does not play an important role in that person's life. We are talking about true practitioners. In such cases, we will definitely find that the life of the true practitioner reflects greater happiness, tranquility, and peace. And even in society, I'm sure these people will be accorded greater sort of trust by other people and respects. So when you think along such terms, then you see that if possible, to be able to practice religion, some form of spirituality is in fact more ideal.
That is example socially. And then you churang to do some so some that Yamnole to Chen share with that, so Yamnuni to Gichana, Kazuna conviction.
So thinking along these lines will help you.
Base of share.
This is like sort of a point of comparison that you make with others, and to strengthen in your conviction. And also, what is helpful is to occasionally compare your own experiences with scriptures, what the scripture says and what you experience, and make a comparison and where you are, and through that way, gradually and slowly, you'll be able to really strengthen your.
Eventually, you can see the deeper value of spirituality. The more that conviction there, then the desire of Kasoda, that
then the greater the conviction, then the greater enthusiasm that you will have, and also the greater the force of sort of moving forward.
The Mingmu song is that the politicians to take when politics and that chick to ya chick share. But lectures election could call shifting door. That moves on the take a move on call shifting door. Not was the Shabbat eating as a gold to the Orwa, not to take door. When I said Nanzu gold, the chair, College of Inshore. That comes to the College of Japanese members to the ship's College.
Although
to call it, but to do not Kazashuk be able to say, did not Karasaka Chosen.
Although this is the case, this should be the case, but in the real world, as it were, we see quite the opposite.
Opposite is
sorry. We see, for example, like business people who's.
I mean, it's basically, as a human, as a human being, you see, there is such sort of nature. If you say you want something, really, you feel, oh, I want that, I want this, I want that, then
so if you have a very forceful desire, a wish to obtain something, and if you want it badly, then of course your commitment, your action for obtaining it will be much more forceful. For example, like in the case of politicians who are sort of determined, who are determined in getting elected, then they give almost everything in achieving that goal. They set out on their campaigns, trail one place after another place, and even during the campaign, you can see them visibly age. So such is
similarly the businessmen.
Such is the dedication. We see a similar dedication among some business people whose sole aim is making money and profit, and when they want it so badly, then they just give everything to obtain that goal. And this should be the case for a spiritual practitioner as well. But somehow we don't seem to find a spiritual practitioner who is that dedicated in attaining the goal.
그래서 가다 가서 그래. 그게 둘째데 그제 세부 중원치 세부 통네. 다 뒤dum디고 그래서 숙샤이베 책이 엔드 되는 거 봐.
So my point is that the clearer that you see the goal that you are aspiring to, and the greater your commitment to attaining that goal, of course, the greater your motivation will be on the path.
Okay. Then one thing, right from the beginning, it is very important to have the view that spiritual development is not easy, take time. So, right from the beginning, if there is too much expectation, they expect some remarkable sort of some transformation within a short period. That is the sign of collapse. So mentally must prepare, or it takes time.
Can you tell us how long?
Now here, Buddhism is not Buddhism.
Now, to give a Buddhist reply to your question, we will be speaking in terms of a time scale of innumerable eons.
That really is when you try to think more about eons, then you see on such person, to such person, the years, month is nothing. In life, nothing, just 100 years. So when you count, you see eons, then that really helps to develop determination. But this is not your business. This is not your business. Of course, certainly your goal can achieve within your lifetime. There's no doubt. Marveya.
We Christians believe that the Holy Spirit works not only among Christians, but moves throughout humanity and wherever people are seeking truth. And I think I would believe, and I think many would perhaps agree with me, that the Holy Spirit is at work in the way you and many of your fellow monks and lay Tibetans have brought the wisdom of Tibet and the compassion and the example of forgiveness and generosity and compassion to us here in the West at great personal cost and suffering. And I think that, as I said to Your Holiness earlier, I think your visits to this country and to the West are a great gift to Christianity, because I think you enable people in the West who have lost this love of true religion and have lost this spiritual fervor or this zeal or this determination for spiritual growth. You enable many people in the West to understand religion in a new light and in a new way. And I wondered if you could help us to understand why is it that in the modern world, that with the fact that we have more leisure, more time, better health, we have better facilities to live, more affluence, why is it that we have lost this sense of true religion and spiritual practice?
Solon was saying that maybe in your monasteries you have leisure, but outside in the
especially in the city.
Especially in the cities,
The
people
whole
have
lifestyle is something like a clock.
the whole life seemed to be running at such a fast pace. It's like a sort of a clock, never stopping for an instant.
시대는 되게 미디디 잘아를 지금 주시식 소리지. 소소수베 주시 그걸 겹서로 걸어가면 따다 머신은 즉내 마랭에 지기. 되네 만드는 그런 따다 되가 삭선 줘야지 마시는 먼저 수도 빼고. 홀ben 가서다 urban life 그걸 즉 캔사십 쳐야 되지.
In fact, just a few days ago, I made this comment to a friend of mine that if you look at the life in an urban community, it seems as if every aspect of your life has to be so precise, like a nail, like a screw that has to fit exactly in the hole. And so in some sense there is no control of your life. You have to really, in order to survive, you have to just follow this kind of pattern and in the pace that is set.
What would you say, Your Holiness, to the remark that I hear many times speaking about meditation, when people say, I would like to meditate, but I am too busy?
당연히 디샤가는 나무 기계에서 기도자 저러. 아니 기계인데 그래. 당연히 딩거 당한 줬어. 아니 야우산 줬어. 달링거 당한. 기도 되게 좀 소리야. 딱 하나 그도 타가서 링거 당한 그도 좋았어. 딱 덜 잘하시다도 인 슈걸 해주 가는 줬어. 니 뭐지 러시 키우면도 그래서 그 가래스 띠르가 다가 누고 그랬어. 다 나가서 살아. 가다 뭐시부터 잘해줘야 말보다.
Sort of with regard to this question, I would like to tell you a story. There were two monks, a teacher and his student, and one day the teacher said, as a sort of in order to give some sort of encouragement to his student, one day we will definitely go for a picnic. And so the teacher said this, and then after a few days it was forgotten. And then the student reminded the teacher, "Oh teacher, when are we going to go to this picnic?" And teacher said, "Oh, I'm far too busy, maybe sometime in the future." And then, a long time passed, no picnic. And then again the student reminded him, "When are we going to go to this famous picnic?" And the teacher said, "Not now, I'm far too busy, And then one day, so one day the student saw a dead body being carried away. And the teacher asked him, "What is happening?" And the student said, "Well, that poor man is going to picnic."
meaning is whole life, unless you find some opportunity. Otherwise, it's busy always there. Yes, till death. So that's the meaning.
So the point is that in your life, unless you make specific time for something that you feel committed, there's always something to do, you know, and you know, the things to do will never really end.
I think the strain of the last few days has been too much for